Well, good morning, everyone. I imagine you're all feeling very sad about the fact that we're not outside. For Susan and I, who's joining me to my left, this is really a treat. It's like going on a winter holiday. You may not know this, but we had in the month of late May, we had 2 feet of snow drop on us in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all the northern lakes are frozen, including the one where we plan to drop a boat on the ice in the next few days. Anyway, Dean Benbow, thank you. Thank you for those very kind comments about my work. I only wish our 3 sons were here because they wouldn't have believed a word of it. But anyway, I'm really honored beyond what I can express to you today to be recognized in this very special way. And I'll make a couple of comments in a few moments as to why I feel so much that this is one of the high points of recognizing my work and the work of my colleagues in the last 45 years. So I'm deeply humbled, along with Susan, to accept the Peabody College 2013 Distinguished Alumni Award. And I can honestly say to all the graduates who are here, along with their dedicated family members and friends, people who have supported you on this path, that my experience here at Peabody College truly transformed my life, and it transformed my future. As I was preparing for this very special occasion, I was reminded of the leadership and excellence of Peabody College, characteristics which are captured beautifully in Paul Conklin's book, Peabody College, From a Frontier Academy to the Frontiers of Teaching and Learning. From its humble beginnings, Peabody College has always led the nation in the creation of ideas that are foundational to the development of human potential and educational experience across the lifespan. In 2012, Peabody was ranked #1 among colleges of education in the United States, and it was ranked #1 for the 4th consecutive year by U.S. News and World Report. At that time, your extraordinary leader and dean stated, "We are pleased to again be ranked #1. There is nothing more important to our children's well-being and our economic future than education. It is gratifying that Peabody's contributions to transforming education are seen as leading the nation." This statement would have been equally applicable in the fall of 1964 when I arrived to begin my graduate study at Peabody College. Some of you may recall this was a period of great turbulence in the United States. The faculty here at Peabody, Vanderbilt, and other colleges had drawn national attention for lunch counter sit-ins to affirm the rights of African American citizens in Davidson County and throughout the nation. These passionate scholars were also leading the nation in the creation of innovative ideas to advance human development in education. I had the rare privilege of working with many of these faculty members as a student here at Peabody College. At that time, Nicholas Hobbs was undertaking a major study on the futures of children. This effort examined a body of research, policy, and practice that at that time was considered essential to the healthy development of children in our society. It seems like an equally timely topic today as we discuss the future of our country. Lloyd Dunn served as my advisor, and he was named by President Kennedy to serve on the panel on mental retardation, a panel that developed a blueprint for the next 50 years of policy and practice that led to wide-scale expansion of rights and opportunities for citizens with disabilities. Susan Gray was one of the early pioneers here when I was a student in advancing early education and development of low-income children. Think about that for just a moment, and think about the discussion that we are having today. It was an extraordinary academic atmosphere, an atmosphere characterized by unparalleled public long-term vision, strong national and global leadership, a culture that valued teaching and mentorship, and a college that emphasized the advancement of knowledge, interdisciplinary collaboration, and a high degree, as your dean has mentioned in her opening remarks, of public engagement. These are rare qualities: vision, leadership, collaboration, and engagement in order to address issues of profound importance in our society. These characteristics, these qualities, dominated the period in which I studied at Peabody. I'm remembering that great, as I came to Nashville, I recalled that I also, as a person trained in classical music, fell in love with country music. And I just want you to know that these were qualities that were rare in higher education then, and in some cases are rare today. And these are qualities that Peabody discovered before, as the song goes, before it was cool. And I say that as someone who came to admire Minnie Pearl and Flatt and Scruggs and spent a little time at Ryman Auditorium and in the honky-tonks right around the corner. These qualities that I think are so important are still part of the Peabody DNA today. This was, and this is, an excellent place. And for all of these reasons, it is an important moment for me, accepting this award from my alma mater, a college who has led the way for the nation for more than 100 years. The wisdom of Dean Benbow's remarks about the critical importance of education is nearly as old as civilization itself. As far back as ancient Greece, the philosopher Diogenes insisted that the foundation of every state, is the education of its youth. But we are at a crossroads in Tennessee, in Minnesota, in my home state, and across our nation. At a time when our aging population means fewer workers and more demand for health care and other services, our future workforce is increasingly comprised of socioeconomic groups that have historically not been well served by our educational systems. Now, when we need all hands on deck and every child achieving at his or her highest potential, our confidence in and support of schools is falling to historic lows. A Gallup poll from last summer shows the percentage of Americans confident in public schools at 29% today, down 5% from the previous years. 40 years ago, the percentage of Americans who had high confidence in public schools approached 60%. This is a 50% decline in 4 decades. This may be a reflection of our aging population with new priorities for government spending, including health care, entitlements, and public safety. But regardless of the root cause, today large-scale public problems are proving difficult to solve. The public rhetoric is so polarized, there seems to be no middle ground, and the public trust is proving difficult to earn and difficult to keep. I believe we need a return to public services and public commitment to government and increased civic leadership in our communities. And we must act with greater urgency, to address multidimensional problems, from the lack of civility and constructive engagement in our public discourse and political institutions, to the challenges of human rights, sufficient and sustainable sources of water, food, and energy, affordable access to health care, and of course, education. The neglect of education and the development of the nation's human capital may present for all of us our most daunting challenge. Fortunately, those of you who are here today, future leaders in our society, you understand that an investment in our young people is an investment in our future prosperity, an investment in our future quality of life. Psychologists have identified 3 characteristics that form the bedrock of a healthy, productive life: competency, connection, and contribution. I believe these attributes are equally important leadership qualities in advancing public purposes and public values. You can measure competence, cognitive abilities, literacy, mathematical proficiency, and other useful skills. And as a society, we tend to put our money where our measures are. But without direction and inspiration, our abilities achieve little. Competency only matters if it is applied. None of these three attributes, competency, connection, and contribution, can be developed in a vacuum. We only learn about our strengths, weaknesses, shared values, and divergent viewpoints by interacting with those around us. Only through connections do we develop a true sense of the relationship among ideas and a sense of ourselves, our abilities, our passions, and our potential to contribute. What's true of children is true of us as adults. Competency, connection, and contribution enable us to assume the mantle of leadership and truly make a difference in the world. Consider a personal hero of mine, University of Minnesota alumnus and Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug. Dr. Borlaug died in 2009 and was mourned around the world. He arrived at the University of Minnesota, a tough Iowa farm kid no one was sure could ever succeed at the University of Minnesota. From humble beginnings, he became a world-renowned plant pathologist and agricultural researcher, winning the Nobel Prize for saving hundreds of millions of people from starvation worldwide. How did he achieve such impact and recognition? He did so by developing new disease and climate-resistant crops and farming techniques, by sharing his discoveries and techniques freely with the populations he sought to help, and encouraging future research and education. And he did so by tirelessly lobbying foreign governments, often resistant to his ideas, to support new laws and policies that would enable agricultural practices that could ultimately sustain their populations. Borlaug's life illustrates the essential characteristics of strong public leadership, the characteristics of competence, the characteristics of building connections, and the commitment to making a difference, to making a contribution. Borlaug was dedicated to the life of the mind. He assumed responsibility for his own learning. He was intensely curious and passionate about advancing knowledge. From the time he arrived at the University of Minnesota, he was absolutely relentless in his pursuit of new ideas. He was a lifelong learner who continued to tackle tough problems, new problems, and challenge those around him, including me, well into his 90s, but when he thought we were on the wrong course. Borlaug had a persistent commitment to advancing the greater good. He was deeply committed to nations and people he sought to help and remained personally engaged in their future. He was an absolutely tenacious advocate for research methods, farming techniques, and public policies many other people disagreed with, all in the nature of feeding the hungry. Borlaug was driven to make a difference. He lived a purposeful life with great courage. He wanted to leave the world much better than he found it. He was distressed to see suffering, especially when he knew it could be alleviated. He firmly believed in the maximum of teaching people to fish. His life and work were not easy, but with a clear vision of what he hoped to achieve, he accomplished the absolutely incredible. In this way, he embodied the words of St. Francis of Assisi: start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, "The first test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see things that are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. We need more leaders with the ability to find the fertile middle ground. We need those leaders in order to move our communities, our country, and our world forward." This great college and this great university, our society, and the world needs your commitment, your continued commitment to serve, and we need your commitment to lead. As you leave here today, like Dr. Borlaug, we need you to dedicate yourself to the life of the mind. Commit yourself to advancing the greater good. and strive to make a difference each and every day. As Peabody graduates of 2013, I have every confidence that you will lead us to the bright horizon we all seek with very hopeful hearts. Thank you for this wonderful honor and the opportunity to be with you this morning.